recently the body has become quite important in meditation practices, although it's often called body scan, and I tend not to use that term myself, body scan, and that's because I think that the body is the source of a very rich and deep meditation practice. This is partly because when we're truly in the body, it takes us away from our brain, from just being in our head. And that is particularly important because that's something that we all find very difficult. We're used to thinking thoughts are naturally going to be there, but the more that we can engage with the very bare sensations in the body, the more we will be away from our usual prapancha, from all the thoughts that go around in our head all the time. The body, of course, is the source of our emotions. It's our history. We hold all our history in our body. So it's an interesting part of ourselves to really get to know. What's quite interesting with meditating in the body, or with the body, is that initially it's difficult not to fall into thinking about the body. We have an idea of our body, of its image, of what it looks like, and so on. But our body is much more than that. There are very subtle levels to understanding or getting to know the body. So basically what we're doing when we meditate on the body is getting close as we can to the very sensations that we are experiencing. It's like our awareness is the body. That's all it is. In a way, it's quite a straightforward, simple practice. But unless we've done yoga, Tai Chi, various other body techniques, body practices, then we're not used to really knowing how to be in the body. And an idea that a lot of us have about meditation is sort of leaving the body behind, being in a sort of mind space that's just empty. And, well, that's not to say that doesn't happen, but, well, certainly I find that it happens more easily the deeper we go into the body, because we reach subtle levels of the body. The body, you could say, is more than we think it is. So where does my body end and start? You know, when I meditate, where exactly are the boundaries? And that can be a really interesting question, you know, where the boundaries are. And the more open and spacious we feel, the less the boundary is where our skin is. So we get in touch with a much wider sense of ourself while being embedded in bodily sensations. So quite often, actually most of the time I would say that I start with body meditation, with centering myself in the body, going really deeply into the body and discovering what it's trying to tell me, with listening to the body, you could say. Any tensions, anxieties, they're all there in our body.
I mean, that sounds like it comes from quite a meditative awareness. What about during just our daily experience, when we have got things to do, we need to think, and we perhaps we're a bit more stressed than we would be sitting quietly on a cushion? How can we use the body in a way to help us?
Yes, so I think you're talking about mindfulness in daily life. really. The body is a very good and useful source of developing mindfulness, what we do with our body. So a lot of what we do with our body in everyday life comes from our habits. And our habits are very useful because they save us a lot of energy. You know, if we had to think about how to pick up a cup, if we had to think about how to drive or whatever it is we're doing, it would be immensely exhausting. But of course most of the things we do aren't exhausting because we're so used to doing them. So we've got body memory. That even goes for things like playing the piano. We get memory in our muscles that know how to do things and that are very useful. But of course it also means that often we're quite heedless or mindless about what it is we're doing. We multitask, so we're doing 3 things at once. So with mindfulness practice, quite a lovely practice is bringing a focused attention to what we're actually doing. Not focused in a over-focused way, but sort of it's like an appreciative awareness of what it is we're doing, whether that's washing up. It's good to take an everyday task like washing up or brushing your teeth, getting dressed, and bring a mindful attention so that you know what you're doing, but you feel what you're doing with your body. So something like having a bath. We get in the bath to get clean. Maybe we relax in the bath, but maybe then we make the mistake of reading a book or listening to music instead of actually being in the bath, feeling the water on our skin, feeling the buoyancy of the water on our body and how that feels. So yes, the body is a great source of, well, of course it's a source of pleasure and pain in our life as well. And one thing I did forget to say earlier is, I know for quite a long time I've said something in meditation that people often find a bit mysterious or not terribly clear, or they just don't get it, which is the natural state of the body is bliss. And, well, in a way it's quite amazing that I have come, it's quite amazing to myself anyway, that I have come to that, because due to my past history with my own body, which was being born disabled, having had dozens of operations, I was very used to, when I came to meditation, cutting off from my body. It was very good to enter a dhyanic space in my mind that actually didn't include my body. And many years later I found I had to sort of go back and collect my body. But what I found is that because, well, nowadays particularly, walking, standing, activity with my body is not just a lot of effort, but it can be quite painful. But when I sit in meditation, I don't experience, generally speaking, that pain, or any pain. And because I'm used to working with my mind perhaps, I experience a lot of body bliss. And I've come to the conclusion that the natural state of the body is very blissful. There is bliss to be found in very simple sensations. So partly for me, of course, that's because if I'm not experiencing pain, then I easily experience pleasure. Because I suppose there's gratitude in there, gratitude that I'm not in pain, and therefore there is bliss, there is blissful sensations, air on the skin, not being hungry, experiencing the bliss of pure sensation, you could say, of simple sensation, of light coming through the eyelids, of just the joy of being embodied. So yeah, I think it's important that we look for that. One of the aspects of entering any dhyanic state is very much knowing how to access pleasure in the body as well as pleasure in the mind. Simple pleasure. So of course we're used to looking for pleasure in our daily lives through the body, through things like running, swimming, having sex, you know, things that are quite extreme, in a way I think just to make us feel more aware of the body. But actually when we find that we can take pleasure in the body without those things, it's even more pleasurable, because there it is all the time. So it's something very simple, really. Mm.